Hi y'all, this is Mrs. D, and today we're going to go over multiplying and dividing inequalities. So let's go ahead and get started. So one-step inequalities can be solved using the multiply and divide properties of inequalities. And this is the same process as solving a one-step equation, but instead of an equal sign, we have an inequality sign. So let's review the inequality symbols and their meanings. And this is the table we used from the previous videos where we talk about the less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to symbols. And if you notice the less than symbol, if you make an L with your left hand, is going to be pointing in the same direction. And so left hand, less than, they both start with L, so that's just an easy way to remember which direction it's facing. Also remember that the open part is pointing towards the bigger number. So if your first number is smaller, then you have a less than symbol. So if the number that is with the variable is dividing, we're going to multiply that number to both sides of our inequality. So let's talk about a little practice here and what that means. So if you notice here with the x on the same side of the inequality with our variable, we're dividing by 3. So instead of dividing by 3, I'm going to multiply times 3, and I'm going to do that to both sides of my inequality. What that does is 3 divided by 3 on this side equals 1, and 1 times x is x. So that isolates my variable so that it's by itself on the left side of my less than symbol. And then on the right side, 2 times 3 equals 6. Same thing that we did on our add and subtract video, we can graph this on a number line. So I'm going to find my 6 down here on the number line, and because it is a less than symbol, it's going to be an open circle, and I'm going to shade everything less than. Just like with adding and subtracting, I can take any number in this area that is shaded and plug it in for x to solve to make sure my inequality is true. So I'm just going to take my -3. So if I plug in a -3, -3 divided by 3 is a -1, and I know that -1 is less than 2. So because that fits with my inequality and makes the statement true, I know that I have shaded in the correct direction. Let's try another one. So now on this side of my inequality, I have x divided by 2, which means I'm going to multiply both sides of my inequality times 2. So again, 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 1 times x equals x. And then I have 4 times 2 on the other side, which is 8. Now, again, in the other video, I did go over this, but just to refresh your memory, it is easier when your variable is on the left side of your inequality. So in order to move the variable to the other side of the inequality, I have to flip my inequality. So now it's going to be a less than or equal to, and my number is still 8. So now instead of 8 being greater than or equal to x, x is going to be less than or equal to 8. Those are still the same statement. I've just written them the other direction. So I'm going to find my 8 here, and I'm going to do a shaded in circle because it is or equal to. And then I'm going to shade everything that is less than, because this one is also less than. Again, I can take any number in this area, so let's go with a 4. And if I plug in a 4 here, 4 divided by 2 is 2. And if I look at my original statement, 4 is greater than or equal to 2. So that does check out, so I do know that I have shaded in the correct direction. For the next step here, if the number with the variable is multiplying, I'm going to divide that number on both sides of my inequality. So let's see what this looks like. So now I have 3 times x is less than 9. So instead of multiplying my variable times 3, I'm going to divide by 3, and whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. Well, 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 1 times x is x. I still have a less than symbol, and 9 divided by 3 equals 3. So I'm going to do an open circle at 3, and then I'm going to shade everything less than. So any of these numbers I can plug in. Let's go with 0. 3 times 0 is 0, and 0 is in fact less than 9. Now on this situation, I'm multiplying x times 2. So I'm going to divide both sides of my inequality by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So now I have x. I'm going to keep my symbol. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Now instead of 4 being less than or equal to x, I'm going to go ahead and flip it so my x is on the left side, which means my inequality is going to change to greater than or equal to 4. So now let's find our 4 on our number line, and we're going to shade that in, and everything greater than should make this statement true. So let's try it. 7. I'm going to plug in a 7 here for x. 2 times 7 is 14. And I do know that 8 is less than or equal to 14. So that does check out. So I have shaded in the correct direction. Let's try a couple of practice problems. And so for the first one, we have y divided by 3 is greater than or equal to -2. So instead of dividing by 3, I'm going to use my multiply property, and I'm going to multiply both sides times 3. Again, 3 divided by 3 is 1, so I'm left with y is greater than or equal to a -6. Remember our negatives. -2 times 3 is a -6. So now I'm going to do a closed circle at -6, and everything is going to be shaded greater than. This one is multiplying 4 times y, so I'm going to divide by 4. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. Again, 4 divided by 4 is 1, which equals just y. And that's less than -8 divided by 4 is a -2. So now I'm going to find -2. I'm going to do an open circle, and I'm shading less than. For our last problem here, we're going to use a real-world situation. In a litter of 6 puppies, each one weighs more than 5 ounces. Find the possible total weight of the litter. So we want to find the total weight, and if that's divided by 6 puppies, they all weigh more than 5 ounces. So this right here will give us the total weight of the puppies, or at least the total weight that's going to be more than. So in order to solve this one, I have to do the opposite of divide by 6, which is multiply by 6. And whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. 6 divided by 6 is 1, so I'm left with the total weight of the puppies is greater than 5 times 6, which is 30 ounces. So that means that the total weight of all my puppies is more than 30 ounces. All right. So let's go back over our steps here. First, when I have one-step inequalities, I can solve them by using the multiply and divide properties of inequalities. If the number with the variable is dividing, I'm going to multiply that number to both sides of my inequality. And if the number with the variable is multiplying, I'm going to divide that number to both sides of the inequality. And just to review, whenever I'm doing that multiplying or dividing both sides, I'm isolating my variable so that I can solve for the inequality. If you still need more help after you watch this video a couple of times, be ready to ask some specific questions. You can also go back over the one-step multiplying and dividing equations, which might help with the process. This is Mrs. D signing off with Multiply and Divide Inequalities. Have a great day.